On PM Express tonight, a very controversial discussion about Ghana's new Holiday Act, which was passed today in Parliament. It has been 2 years in the making. The president started off, the very first day he was inaugurated, he introduced a debate into a national discourse that really stirred a huge controversy. He proposed that we should consider celebrating other individuals he believed contributed to our independence. But controversially, among the list of individuals that he has suggested includes 3 individuals who are his relatives. One is his father, one an uncle as well. And that raised several questions for those who opposed to it. But the president's point then, on January 7, 2017, was that we should have a debate about it. It took 2 years of very acrimonious, controversial debate. It split this country right down the middle. Well, it appears eventually the president has his way. The opposition has had their say. They, in fact, boycotted it today when the bill was finally passed. So what do we have? We have additional holidays. Some have also been taken out, if you didn't know. And so henceforth, your holiday calendar should change. For example, 1st of July doesn't exist anymore as a holiday. It's a commemorative day. But I guess the most controversial of the days that have been introduced today, and it's now a law, and we will be celebrating it as a holiday, is a new one on the 4th of August every year. Now that is the controversial one. The president argues, or the government argues, that 4th of August is the day on which UGCC, the United Gold Coast Convention, was formed. And was formed by a group of people that included relatives of the president. And then there was also, the president has argued, the establishment of the Aborigines Right Protection Society that he believes lit the flame that sparked this fight in the march towards independence. But that's not all there is, because those who argue that this is an attempt to dim the flame of Nkrumah, the president had a master stroke in there. He gave them 21st of September, which is the day Nkrumah was born. It is a holiday. It used to be a day, really, that we celebrated as a Founders' Day. And it's a controversy about the apostrophe. The apostrophe is there on the 4th of August, but it's apostrophe after the S, not between not before the S. And that is a big controversy. The NDC minority in Parliament, they've already served notice that if they ever win power, they will scrap it. The reason why this is important, it goes to our history as a people. And that is why we are having this conversation today about this. It's very heated. We want to stay with us here on PM Express, because when we return from the short break, I'll be introducing my guests who are already taking a seat in the studio. And then we'll go into the real reason why we have to change our holiday calendar. Stay with us here on PM Express. My guest in the studio is a man who I'm sure you've heard him campaign on this since day one. Mr. Ablakwa is my guest in the studio. He is the ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Also in the studio with me is a man who has been very vocal as far as this matter is concerned. He's been on this show before, by the way. That's the chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee in Parliament, Seth Kwame Acheampong, is my guest as well. I'm grateful, gentlemen, for your time here on PM Express. This is such an important conversation because it goes to the heart of our history. And because of all that has been happening in Ghana, we haven't really paid particular attention. But if you missed it, this act has been passed today in Parliament. And so we will talk about it. Sam, so tell me, what is, the minority understand boycotted this?
Yes,
what is your fundamental disagreement with this act?
Well, thank you very much, Evans, and my brother Seth. And let me wish our viewers the regards of the minority in Parliament, and to say good evening to all our distinguished viewers. The crux of our objection, and by the way, to be more precise, we staged a walkout.
Oh, walkout. Okay.
Yes, a walkout on that specific matter of the Public Holidays Amendment Act. Because as you have rightly said, it is at the heart of who we are, what we represent, our history, our heritage. It is a clear attempt, in our view, very considered view, to distort the history of our country. And we served notice from day one when this bill was laid on the floor of the House that we will not be part of any attempt to distort our history, any attempt to pursue an agenda which seeks to rewrite history, to downgrade the pioneering and iconic role of that great Pan-Africanist, the Osagefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, downgrade his role and bring up others to, at worst, put them on the same pedestal and create what they are calling a Founders Day with the apostrophe after the S. There are other problematic provisions that we have pointed to, and by the way, we are opposed to every single amendment they have carried out. We are opposed to downgrading the Republic Day and making the Constitution Day, the 7th January, more prominent and more significant than the Republic Day. We are also opposed to the downgrade of 25th May, the Africa Union Day, which we commend His Excellency President John Acheampong for instituting as a public holiday. That has been downgraded, it's been made a commemorative day. Again, another refusal to acknowledge the pioneering role that Ghana played, that the Osagefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah played since the Manchester Conference of 1945, when he led African students in the diaspora to begin to agitate for decolonization of the African continent and to have a continental government since 1945. Ghana's pioneering role, acknowledged by everybody, including when he became prime minister and later president. He led the Casablanca group, if you recall, which was a more radical group as opposed to the Monrovia group, which led to the eventual formation of the Organization of African Unity on the 25th of May, 1963 in Addis Ababa. So for our government to argue that it is not a holiday in other African countries, and so we can also go that route, is a certain lack of appreciation of the pioneering role that Ghana played, that the Osagefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah played, which all other nations look up to us. It is the reason why up to now, up to today, Osagefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's statue is the only statue at the AU headquarters in Addis Ababa. So we are opposed to that. We are also opposed to the whole 4th August narrative to claim that the UGCC was formed on 4th August 1947 and the Aborigines' Right Protection Movement was also formed on the 4th of August. And so that is a date in destiny, and that's where the independence struggle began, and so these are our funders.
But that's factual, is it not?
It is a wrong appreciation and interpretation of history. If you read the aims and objectives of the Aborigines' Rights Protection Society, it was basically a struggle to secure land rights. Yeah. But key in the aims and objectives of the movement, key, my brother, was, quote, and I'm reading the aims and objectives of the Aborigines Rights Protection Society. under the heading Loyalty to the British Crown. It states, the society's aim is also to inculcate in the people of the Gold Coast a sense of loyalty towards the British Crown. A sense of loyalty towards the British Crown. The entire movement and organization of the Aborigines' right was not to oust the British who had established their colony here by 1867. That was not their objective. The objective was to parley with the British colonialists. Once they accept that, okay, you can have your lands, some of you can serve in our legislative assembly, then they are fine.
But what was the effect? That may not be objective, but the effect of what they did.
It was weak. I would even...
Didn't it spark a fire in our belly to push
it did not. It did not. I will even give Ya Asantewaa, that great woman, the war she led in 1900, when even men could not rise up to be counted. I will accord Ya Asantewaa, give her more credit than the Aborigines Right Protection Society, which was really an organization, with all due respect to Mensa Saba, who started it, became a lackey, really, of the British imperialists. They were not interested. Once they were comfortable, they had their land title, they had their land ownership, they could not be bothered. And look at their aims and objectives, to inculcate a sense of loyalty to the crown. And you tell me that spark, what spark? Right from the objective, there was no contestation at all. They were fine with the British being here, running affairs, being in charge of this country. Once they were also invited to the table occasionally to drink tea with the British. So that interpretation of history is wrong. The point must also be made that the UGCC lost relevance in the struggle for independence. By the 12th of June, 1949, when Kwame Nkrumah broke away to establish the CPP, Kwame Nkrumah broke away because the UGCC had become a group of elitists who really, if they could be invited by the British colonialists to the same table, if they were recognized and they could have lunch together, dinner together, that's fine.
But that's a misrepresentation of history.
No,
they wanted independence. It was simply going down to how long you wanted it. Nkrumah wanted it shortest possible time. They wanted it. Nkrumah wanted it now. They wanted shortest possible time. I mean,
yes, and remember that shortest possible time. You've had colonies, British colonies, that had their independence in the 90s. Some are still struggling as we speak now to extricate themselves from colonial domination. If Kwame Nkrumah had not broken away on the 12th of June, 1949, to establish the CPP, and he said, look, independence now, self-government now, instead of this self-government within the shortest possible time, the UGCC founders had become so comfortable with the British elite, wanted to be like them, and it was no longer a mass popular movement. Yeah. So they lost relevance. Remember that by the time of the 1948 riots, Kwame Nkrumah had emerged as the soul of the struggle. By 1950, Kwame Nkrumah was arrested. When he was arrested, all these his colleagues, who today are being, if you like, being brought up, they attempt to shore them up and put them at the same level and even downgrade Kwame Nkrumah beneath these people. They all betrayed him. When Kwame Nkrumah was arrested, remember he was in prison at the time of the 1951 elections. They thought because he was in prison, he wouldn't win. He won the seat in Central Accra. Remember that his party, the CPP, secured 74 of the 101 seats. He emerged as the natural leader, recognized by the people.
But Sam, there's no dispute there.
And he was invited to form the first black African government.
But there's no.
In 1951,
I want to bring your colleague on this. But there isn't any dispute there, is there? But the fundamental point that I've read the memo say is recognizing the UGCC's role as the first nationalist party, which, by the way, invited Nkrumah to come in and join. Yes, Nkrumah eventually grew. Again,
that's another distortion.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that. But I want to hear him on that. I'm sure we'll have time to explore.
You see, we must recognize that Kwame Nkrumah, in his own right, was already leading the liberation movement as a Pan-Africanist.
He joined the UGCC
because they had heard they needed Kwame Nkrumah's charisma.
But he joined the UGCC. Some people invited him and allowed him to.
Why did they invite him? Because they saw they were going nowhere without Nkrumah.
We'll debate that.
Kwame Nkrumah was leading the West Africa Students Union.
We'll debate that shortly.
Kwame Nkrumah convened the Manchester Conference of 1945.
True. You've made those. I'll come to you shortly and expand on that. But Seth, he raises some really fundamental points. And I want us to start with the most controversial one, which is the 4th of August one that he touched on. And the 4th of August one, and I read your memo. There are two reasons that were given by this government for it. Aborigines Right Protection Society. But I guess more controversial is United Go to Convention. In fact, some have really said that the real reason why this has happened is because the people who formed UGCs, including the president's father and other relatives of his. And I've just been reading that I recall very well when John Mills of blessed memory introduced founders with apostrophe S, not S apostrophe. The NPP were very vocal in saying that if we ever come to power, we will change this. The president, in his inaugural address, made the point, said, let's have a debate. Eventually, he's had his way. Isn't that what this is about? Not really about celebrating other people, but finding a way to justify it by doing it because his relatives were.
Thank you very much, Evans. Sam has given a narrative to his perspective. In this conversation, you are monitoring and anchoring us on various perspectives.
Yeah.
Is it a fact that the UGCC was formed on the 4th of August?
It is.
Is it a fact that the Aborigines Right Society, which fought eventually, like you established, the Crown's Bill Act, and made us the origins of this land, offered us the spirit and the ability to be assertive, to own our own property, to own our own rights. These were nationalists of our country. For us, we believe that today we are running a democracy. We are not running a one-party state. Because we are not running a one-party state, it is reasonable to ensure that all participants are recognized. Today, when you go into the body politic of this country, and the history is being written, my brother Sam will be recognized as the ranking member to the 7th Parliament of this republic under this dispensation. I will be recognized as such, as the chairman to a committee that I belong to. We are all contributing our bit to help steer the ship of Ghana. For us, the argument is, how best do we spread the cake of state for everybody to enjoy? You can go on the path and say that, yes, I don't think it is the president's wish or choice that his biological father, his grand uncle, were part of the struggle. Providence have it that it has happened so. So should we say that because of his lineage with these people in the formation of the first nationalist political party of this land under the colonial rule, we should just throw it away? No, it's part of our history. Nobody's saying we don't recognize it.
So we need a holiday for that.
We are not saying we need a holiday for it. We put out a purpose for this activity. And what is the purpose? We said that if you look at the narrative from John Mensah Saba, J.P. Brown, Kesley Hayford, and all those great men, Ghanaian, who fought for this land, it's as if they've been forgotten of. If you are not a history student and you go to read about them, nobody even remembers them. And it is of importance that we remember ourselves that even before this fourth constitutional republic, some nationalists thought of bringing some usefulness of their stewardship to the benefit of the country. And we need to recognize some of these facts.
You make a very important point. However, there's a counter to you, which is if your argument is that let's celebrate everybody who contributed. He mentioned Yaa Asantewaa. Let me add a second one. The ex-servicemen, 28th February. Thankfully, we just came from 28th February, which is like a week ago. I don't remember anything that was done on that day. To remember, these people died for the cause. They died for the cause.
If you would allow me.
Yeah. I mean, so
Yaa Asantewaa was mentioned. I celebrate Yaa Asantewaa.
But it's not a memo that justifies the Founders Day.
You cannot put all. If unfortunately, I would have brought all the memos that when we advertised the bill that we received. There are several contributors, but you can't have it all in a write-up in a book. That is why the writers of history sometimes are not able to get it all to the writer, the best that comes to memory, and that he believes when he features in his narrative will sell for him, is what he puts in there.
So this will sell?
It does not mean that is the entirety of the history. This is not what we will sell.
But you chose to highlight this.
No, listen, Evans, in your promo, you in selling us to our viewers, you talked about UGCC and the relationship of the president.
Yeah, true.
You did not even mention the Aborigines Rights Society, which is part of the memo underpinning this particular bill.
Yeah.
That is another bit of getting people to sit around and listen to the conversation. It does not mean that is all that we have here. There are more meat that we have here. But
I don't see that in the memo.
Just a minute. Oh, it's here. That's the third paragraph to the memo. The Aborigines Rights Society.
No, I'm talking about the others.
I'm coming. In your promo.
Yeah.
Because you are dealing with time.
I understand your analogy.
And I'm coming. And you have to sell. You needed to have a catchy phrase and sell it out there. If a person just walks off and pick that up, that's all the news they're going to pick away. If they don't get the benefit of what I hold in my hands, they would know next to nothing.
But this is a parliamentary
No, but no, that's you.
The pages you use will not be exhausted.
You are detailed.
I get you, but
I'm
on the clock.
Extra mile and go pick up the Hansard and look at what Sam said and listen to what I said. It's in there. But point is that Sam, in his contribution to the second reading of this bill, which is when we debate the principles, mentioned and eulogized Yaa Asantewaa. And I respected him for that. The reason is that it gave the opportunity for everybody to sell their knowledge on the history of the Republic. For me, it was a very healthy conversation. My only low point on that day was when my colleagues decided. And for me, they had sent the indication to me in committee that they wanted a division. And clearly I knew I was expecting that.
So that's in the walkout?
Yeah, when we got to when the majority leader was to advance his argument, they walked out. That was my only low point. Aside that, all my colleague who responded from the minority side, James Agalga, spoke eloquently on his knowledge of Ghana's history. This, which we have put as the memo underpinning this law, is part of Ghana's history. You can't just expound it and throw it away. It may not necessarily be sweet and palatable to some ears, but like you rightly said, is it a fact that these things occurred in this country? Is it good to celebrate them? Do we have that joy that when we celebrate them, it is useful, it is good or not?
Can you respond to Okudzoto Ablakwa's reading of the objectives of the Aborigines' Right Protest? One of the objectives he read is that they wanted to
You capped it decently for me when you said, what is the effect? What was the objectives looking for in respect of results? Were we able to oppose the Crown Lands Act by that activity? Mind you, before you got me here today, you had a production team. You have a strategy. For me, I wasn't part of that group. But as a way of having that objective, it could be a style, it could be a strategy. Today, by hindsight, I can sit back and scheme around within my mind and find out why they decided to go on that path.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, were they able to achieve their aim of owning their own property? And the land which, forgive me, Providence, God had offered us this as our land. From nowhere, I've grown to know Ghana, and this is my country. And I'll do everything to protect Ghana. And if they did same at the time, when the crown had come to preside over us and was imposing his wishes on us, and they felt that this was enough, we should also stand up because we've gained some knowledge, we've gained some experience, let's own it. Should we throw those people away? I don't think we have to do that. It is high time we all sit around, hold a conversation, and appreciate where we are. I don't think we've done so bad. Kwame Nkrumah is so much respected in this act. His birthday is being celebrated, and it's not just now. This predates this government. Under Nkrumah's era, it was a holiday. It was still celebrated his birthday.
The
like
21st,
tomorrow,
not the 1st of September.
Yes, like tomorrow we are going to have this 6th March past. On his birthday, two children went out. There was a holiday on a March past under Nkrumah. So if we are going to host it, I am happy. We are bringing back some of the old history. And mind you, for me, I'll forever and ever stand for the 7th of January. Why?
Hold on, because I want us to take it step by step, because there's a lot. I don't want us to back, because there's a lot to. I wanted to disaggregate it. Let's deal with the Nkrumah bit.
No, but let me go on again and say that we will rather skew the conversation and make it sensational. When we say is the president's father, is the president's uncle, yes, it's a fact. But what is the purpose of the activity? Then we are losing the fine activity of using one's wits to showcase something beautiful that we should all enjoy as a people.
But which is what? It's a fact that his relatives are the three relatives of
but it's a fact that it is not being instituted because of the relatives. He has no relationship. He has no relationship with John Mensah Saba. He has no relationship with Joseph Kessie.
But he has a relationship with
the political party.
And JB Dankwa. I'm saying to you, you're saying to me that the president in pushing this never considered that, oh, my father and my relatives are there. That's why this is important. It never played in this.
Political administration.
Yeah.
It is not the president pushing this. It is the political administration.
You're a politician.
Yes, I am.
And I'm a student of politics. You're saying that it was never a factor. In the man whose word matters is the president.
I'm championing this because I will be remembered in the history books of Ghana that some Ghanaians came after a period of trial. And when we had gained a seeming consolidation for over a 25-year period, they decided that we should move on with this path, which for me, I want to be part of that history.
True.
That is why I am pushing.
I'm saying as a human being.
Excuse me.
No, it's important. It's important. It's our history. And so we shouldn't shy away from confronting things and calling it what it is. I'm saying as a human being, if your father and two other relatives are part of the fact that they formed UGCC and you become the president, and you say that this is something important, let's celebrate it, and let's celebrate everybody else, you're saying that there's no part of the man, Nanado, that will play in the desire and the push to get this to happen under his tenure. You say that there's no part of him that will recognize that because my relatives are there, this even makes it more important.
Only ingredient.
Fantastic. So it's not only, but definitely it plays a role.
I won't deny that.
That's my question to you.
Yes,
that's all I'm asking.
I just don't want us to use that as a centerpiece either. Because when that becomes a centerpiece, we lose the narrative.
No, once you've acknowleded that, you're being fair and honest.
No.
But I've heard people in your party who say, no, that is not part of it. But that is.
That would be a denial to your own intelligence.
Absolutely.
So I am a realist. And I will tell you as it is. And I say it that, my brother, I want to be recognized that after going through our country's life and our culture, I think it is worth celebrating some of these people. In this time, granted, a century down the line, some generation may come. And they may say, hey, no, we don't love it.
Well, don't look too down the line, because the man here says that when they win, they're going to scrap it.
Oh, I'm not debating him on that.
Let me bring him in.
I'm not debating him on that score.
Let me bring him in. I'll come back to you on that. Sam, so we've talked a bit about the 4th August. But the Nkrumah angle, though, the 21st September, doesn't it sort of deal with your suggestion that they're trying to elevate others above Nkrumah, etc.? Because Nkrumah's birthday is still a holiday. And this has been passed into law. We also celebrate Nkrumah. In fact, now he has a day for himself. I say, in his birthday. I mean, doesn't that deal with the suggestion that,
It does not, Evans. And we need to see through the games that the current government is playing. They're calling the day Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Day. What does that mean?
It means you're remembering a man who, in fact, let me read you
remembering him for what? You see,
let me read a memory.
I like an expression he used.
For our listeners, for our viewers.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It says that the nation's first president, Kwame Nkrumah, also played an outstanding role in helping to bring to fruition the works of the Elijah. Now, this is an important bit. Thereby leading us to the promised land of national freedom and independence. They acknowledge that he is the man who led us to independence. So that deals with the concerns you have, doesn't it?
So you can see that the government is contradicting itself. You acknowledge that the man led the struggle
to independence, yes,
and is the man credited. And these are records available at the British House of Commons in files and archives all over the world. He is acknowledged internationally, globally, as the founder of modern Ghana. You cannot downgrade him, remove Founders Day, which acknowledges the iconic role he played in founding this country as a founding father. Look, during the debate,
he's not a founder.
During the debate, the Honorable Minister for the Interior tried to use the U.S. analogy. Even with the U.S. analogy of the 7, George Washington is described as the father of the homeland. There is always a towering figure. The Minister of the Interior again said, there is no country that has one person as the founder. Everybody plays a role. I took him through a tall list. India, Mahatma Gandhi is recognized as the founder. Tanzania, Julius Nyerere is recognized as the founder. Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew is recognized as the founder of modern Singapore. South Africa, Nelson Mandela. Guinea, Ahmed Sekou Toure. I can go on and on and on, including South Korea, Sigmund Rhee, Malaysia, Tunku Abdul Rahman, Tunisia, Habib Bourguiba, Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta, Egypt, Saad Zaglu, Zambia, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. I can go on and on. So it is.
But the government doesn't disagree with you, because it says they acknowledge that he led.
No.
But they only disagree that he is the founder.
What they have done is to bring up others and call them founders, and then say, okay, you know what? To appease them, let's play smart. Let's give Nkrumah a Memorial Day, a Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Day. What does that mean?
It means
you see,
a Memorial Day.
Consistently since the 24th February 1966 coup, the elements of the UGCC, the Dankwabuzia tradition, have set out. Look, there's so much hatred for this man, for Kwame Nkrumah. Remember, they proscribed all his books, banned his books, all his writings publicly. It was an offense. They passed a law. It was an offense to carry anything with the effigy of Kwame Nkrumah.
But before this act, it was the 21st of
holiday. And yet, Kwame Nkrumah, yes, it was a holiday. Remember, under Professor Mills. Professor Mills brought that back. And yet, Kwame Nkrumah never dies. He's been voted the man of the millennium, not the century.
Has kept him alive.
Not the decade. Because you see, because they can't stand the heat. So they are trying to. You see, they are. They are trying. You see, they are trying to place.
No, this is not me.
You see, please.
I don't need to do this exactly to some. But if the narrative goes that we can't stand the heat, you know, like you're rightly saying, Dr. Nkrumah is Dr. Nkrumah. He's so much revered and respected. He's celebrated.
Well, that is not what you have done to him.
He's celebrated on the 4th of August. He's again celebrated on the 21st of September.
That's a fact.
In this particular activity.
He's part of the founders.
You see,
and then he has his own holiday for himself as well.
My joy is that, yes, he was a very useful ingredient in the struggle.
Was a very useful ingredient?
Very useful.
It was the most important ingredient.
Oh,
this act, what you have done, it is not subjective.
It is still subjective. You don't
subjective.
It is. You know,
your own memo said he led.
If somebody fed,
if he's a leader, he's a leader. It can't be.
Well, you asked for a little bit of my time. You are taking all. So
I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you.
If I can exhaust my time, you see, I want to go back to some analogies that my brother used. He talked about my role as ranking member when the history is told and all of that. When the history is told, I will only be ranking member. It will not be fair for history to bring me up to the level of Speaker of Parliament. It will not be fair. So I agree with that analogy. And you see, they claim also that you see so many people play the role and all of that. You see, if you want to invite us to adapt the German model, then let us have that discussion. The German model is the
this is an evolution. This is an evolution. We're not looking at any country.
The Versin der Volke, as they say in German, which means we are the people. And so all of us are founders. All of us, all Germans are founders of modern Germany. Then let's say that. But you see, you are appropriating and reprobating. In one breath, oh, you know, coming from important ingredient. He's the only one with 2 days. He can come on the Founders Day, and then he has his own commemorative day. You know, it defeats the argument about all of us play the role. You see, we cannot.
Did Nkrumah do this alone?
You see, nobody has said that Kwame Nkrumah did this alone.
So if we didn't, why are you not celebrating the others who helped him do it?
We are saying, every country does that. You think that all the, you think that India, no, please. Kwame Nkrumah played an iconic role.
No problem.
He is the inspiration. And do you know that his inspiration goes beyond even Ghana? All of them, Julius Nyerere, Sekou Toure, Jomo Kenyatta, they all came here to learn under his feet.
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela, Mugabe, all of them, they were here at the International Students Hostel to take inspiration. It's
not in dispute.
Yes,
and he didn't do this alone.
And they all say, if you read Long Walk to Freedom, you read all of them, their memoirs, that they took inspiration from Kwame Nkrumah. When we became the first black African country south of the Sahara to gain independence, I mean, look, they are watching us today and asking themselves, why is Ghana doing this to themselves?
Nkrumah's role in not only Ghana's history, but in African and world history is undisputed. But my question to you about Ghana is, you agree he didn't lead us, he didn't attain independence by himself. Others helped him. The question is, why don't we recognize those other people who helped him reach where he reached?
But you recognize them appropriately.
They don't deserve a holiday?
Not this familial
but they don't
approach. Using, and that's, and unfortunately,
he's good at his adjectives.
You know, a very familial approach.
And you see why I told you earlier, if you make the president the centerpiece, this is the narrative
you see, and
we're building.
And you know, honestly, Evans, in all seriousness, it's abuse of office. It's self-serving. It's not right. It's not right to do this. You see, I don't mind a commemorative day to really celebrate all of those who helped, including Ya Santua. You know,
but he says that Ya Santua is included in the.
Including all those youth groups, the Gashi from Mokpe, the Anglo Youth Congress,
even in UGCC,
you know, all those who stood up to be counted we can have a day, but it's not the other way around.
I know you keep on watching your time. You have a lot of time to address.
I'll tell you
the main leader, the towering, iconic figure.
Yeah.
You do not downgrade him.
Oh my God.
Say, oh, commemorative day, and then Founders Day, you lump him together. You don't do that.
Okay.
You don't do that. You are just trying to elevate your ideological, friends. But if you don't want me to use family members, you see, it is not appropriate.
Sam,
it's not right.
Sam, I get your point, but it is a fact. It's not the president's fault that his father was a founder of UGCC, and that his great uncle was. It is a fact of history that they were part of the formation of his UGCC, and they played a role in Nkrumah's coming and assisting him to get to where he eventually got to. So if you were celebrating even what you suggested as a commemorative day, you will still celebrate the president's father. And you can blame him for that?
The president's father is not the founder of Ghana.
But
there is no archival document. There is no research that will point you to the president's father, president's family members as the founders of Ghana.
But they were part of the group that assisted the process.
There is only one founder. No matter what you do, you cannot rewrite history.
I want to take a quick break.
Sorry.
I want to take a quick break.
That's the fact.
And come back and deal with this latest incarnation of a holiday in 7th January. Because that I can relate to, because I was alive. I mean, a lot of the things he himself wasn't alive, but history we've read. But this one, we were all alive and saw what happened in 1993, 92, 93. Because the memo talks about 93. But I know there's an argument against that, because they say the Constitution was actually gazetted on May 15, 1992. And there's a controversy there. So why are we not celebrating it then? We are talking about, the memo talks about 7th January 1993. We'll analyze that. And why is government elevating that over the Republic Day? Stay with us here on PM Express. Live on PM Express, a very interesting, fascinating conversation about our history. And you may have missed it, but the law has been passed today. The minority walked out, but it was passed nonetheless. I'm sure you'll get a shock of your life in the next few months. The first shock will come on the 1st of July. I'm sure many are planning, have already made plans. 1st of July is no joke. I was really upset when I got to know that it's not going to be a holiday. That'll be a first shock. I guess the most important shock will be on the 4th of August. The first time you ever celebrate that day as a holiday. And most people will now be asking, when was this legal? And then we'll tell you it was passed today. Mark today's date, 5th of March, that law was passed. Let's talk about one additional holiday. You've already celebrated by an executive order, correct? Which is the 7th of January. Executive order. Mr. Chairman, so that holiday, and I read the justification, only because the 1992 Constitution established the Fourth Republic, which was inaugurated on the 7th of January 1993. And he claimed that the Fourth Republic has provided the basis for the longest uninterrupted period of stable constitutional rule in the history of Ghana. Now, these factors are not permanent, unchangeable factors. I say this because uninterrupted period of stable is still a continuum. Anything can happen tomorrow that will render this argument, zero. All you need to do is a vigilante thing that we are all fighting now turns into a monster, and the 7th of January, God forbid though. But my argument is there's a very stable, undisputed history of ours on the 1st of July, a Republic Day. Nothing can change that. This 7th of January argument can be changed in the future by events that we can't control. So why are we elevating that day above the Republic Day?
Evans, you can only have a republic when you have a constitution. Without a constitution, you can't have a republic. That is why I saw the interest in establishing a constitutional holiday.
Yeah.
And we talk so much about our 1st July Republic Day. And the significance is the day that the Governor General stepped out of our shores. It was on 1st of July. That is when the Governor General representing the crown, stepped out of our shores.
And yet you say it shouldn't be a holiday.
I'm not saying it shouldn't be celebrated. I said
but
it's commemorative. I passed it because I want to be relevant. I'm having my voice by virtue of this consolidated 1993, 1st of January, when members
Is that more important than 1st of July?
For me.
It is?
In contemporary times.
I see.
You talked a while ago that you can't relate to most of the things Nkrumah did.
True.
The things you can relate
You could, right? You lived through that?
No, I didn't live through it.
Just like myself then.
So the point is, let's celebrate ourselves. Make hay while the sun shines. That's the relevance of it. This is the icing on the cake for me. That's why I told you. The reason is that it has been the most celebrated constitution in the history of this country.
So the argument is, if that's a fact, but why don't you have that and still keep 1st July? Why must you scrap 1st July?
We want to still remain within the brackets. If you go to the schedule of holidays, we have 13 holidays.
You didn't want to add to it.
We don't want to add on to it.
But if you add one holiday, more holiday,
not necessarily. It still goes against the purse of the public.
Yeah, but
it's no crime, but we still want to be prudent. So let's do it.
Okay, so you are afraid of the public backlash of claiming of accusing you of introducing holidays.
We're not looking about the public back. Certainly in a democracy, everybody have their rights, and our constitution guarantees that. It's so enshrined.
Yeah.
But that's not our concern. Our concern is to do what we deem proper.
And this is?
And appropriate. Yes, it is.
I see.
Yes.
He says that 7th of January is more important to him than the 1st of July. You agree?
No, I certainly disagree with that. And you see, this is another example of the things we should not be prioritizing. And I said during my debate on the floor that the people of this country voted for President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo to address the contemporary challenges, the unemployment situation, the economic crisis, the crisis in the financial sector, insecurity, opportunities for the young people, for the young people of our country.
How he links this to my conversation.
Those are the priorities. Those are the matters we expect President Akufo-Addo to focus attention on, and not on these matters. This whole Public Holiday Amendment Act, we can do without them. Look, especially when you are seeking to distort history. Look, the 7th of January, Constitution Day. If Ghana did not become a republic on the 1st of July, 1960, where we finally demolished all the vestiges of colonialism and imperialism, we would not have promulgated our own constitution. So you cannot place 7th January above 1st July. And you see this argument that, the first republic did not last, then the second republic, the third republic, this is the fourth republic. You don't count republics. You are a republic. You became a republic on the 1st of July, 1960. That is the fact. Yes, we acknowledge that this has been the longest republic, and it is to the credit of my tradition. Ordinarily, I should be excited that they have thrown something at us.
Why are you fighting?
Especially when they boycotted the process. They wrote
the stolen verdict.
No. He will not go stolen verdict. He has a more.
He knows the history.
More qualifications.
Oh, he knows the history. You know what they said about all those who sat and wrote the 1992 Constitution. Today they want to become the apostles of this Constitution. But we will say that it's good that God gives us long life. But the point really is that let us not play with certain things. 1st July, 1960. It's a very sacred day. The day the Governor General left. The day we totally.
It should still be commemorated.
Totally.
That's not a holiday.
You see, when it's a downgrade.
Okay.
You have diluted the day, and you are now in this place bringing Constitution Day. I would say that, look, let's keep 1st July And in the programs that we draw out, in the education, in our outreaches to the youth, the young people, in the classrooms, youth associations, marketplaces, on the farms, we rededicate ourselves to the ideals of constitutionalism that let us remain committed to this 1992
So you'd have commemorated
constitution.
the 4th of 7th of January and then kept 1st July as a holiday.
So what you do is that you keep 1st July as a holiday.
Okay.
Now, as you discuss the importance of a republic, the importance of showing to the world that we are capable of managing our own affairs, building and imbuing our people that pride of being an African, then you can also highlight the 1992 Constitution, the longest period, and all of that, and do a rallying call for all of us to commit to the democratic process. But you don't downgrade a republic. Nobody does that. You downgrade a republic, and then you raise.
My final question. So
you remember that. You cannot put something on nothing.
Okay.
So the government has got it totally twisted.
Your point is that when the NDC, if you can come back to power.
Oh, it's a when. On the we have served notice that on the 7th of on the 7th of January 2021.
You know why,
yes, I mean
you know
this.
why I enjoy them so much.
Why?
When we decided to put together the National Health Insurance scheme, they walked out.
Okay.
But my joy is that when God was good to them and they came back, we are enjoying and we're making progress.
So you think that they'll keep it?
We have sanitized the system.
So they'll keep the holidays.
By the 2001 Act, you can only come by some of these things through an executive instrument.
Okay, now.
If an executive decides not to issue that instrument, we can't hold that thing together. We think we need to sanitize the system, make it more relaxed for all of us to play ball.
But they've said the notice. I'm grateful. I'm grateful, Chairman, for your time. I'm grateful, Samakuja Ablakwa, for your time. This is PMS. My name is Evans Mess. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Tomorrow is Independence Day. Make sure you have fun.